Good morning, my name is Josh from CyclonesOZ, and today we've got another very detailed forecast update coming your way. We're going to be talking about a powerful cold front that has blasted through Western Australia. We're also going to be talking about a cold snap that's expected to move over the central parts of Australia. We'll also talk about a bit of rainfall up in far north Queensland. We'll take a look at some winter weather on the forecast to South Australia, Victoria, New South Wales and Tasmania. So all of that plus more coming up in today's weather forecast. If you are brand new to the channel, then please consider subscribing and also leave a like on the video while you're at it. Your support is greatly appreciated. We're going to start things off over west, but you can skip around to the parts of the video that impact you the most with the timestamps in the description down below. Over in Western Australia, you can see overnight a very powerful cold front swept through and a lot of rainfall has been reported. My gauge didn't pick up as much as I expected, 40 millimeters though. I was expecting about 50, maybe 55 because of where I live. However, there were places, especially in the northern suburbs, like I said, that did pick up between 40 and 50 millimeters. The Perth metro area was actually the wettest location, the Mount Lawley weather station, picking up 43 millimeters rather, and some very good rainfall as well across the northern suburbs. I've taken a look at some personal weather station observations, and there's widespread totals between 40 and 60 millimeters, with 66 millimeters in Joondalup. However, that might be a little bit faulty up there. So let me know how much rainfall you did end up picking up. Some very good rainfall across a lot of the southwest as well. Anywhere between the line of Geraldton down to Esperance has picked up some good rainfall. The southwest Capes picked up a healthy 25 millimeters before anyone else, and some good rainfall as well into Katanning, Lake Grace, that sort of area around Mount Barker where they are desperate for rainfall. They've had about 25 millimeters of steady soaking rainfall overnight. Once again, more than I did expect. So just a very, very good night in terms of rainfall. And it's not overly cold either, so we're not looking at a big frost morning either. So it's looking like a very good weather forecast for farmers across the southwest. Also some good rainfall now extending into the eastern and the northern parts of the wheat belt. However, it doesn't look like the northern wheat belt is going to steal the remainder of the wheat belt's thunder. There is still a few showers expected up there, and a heavy showers or heavy line of showers heading up towards Shark Bay and Carnarvon. So if you're watching up there, you might be in for a couple of showers and a couple of mil of rain very shortly. But yeah, a very good weather system in all. This is fantastic news for farmers, and yeah, it just all round could not be better. And it was a very significant front as well, a very powerful one that did sweep through. It's got some very nice showers behind it. There is a secondary sort of frontal system that's going to be impacting the area. Just going to wait for this to continue loading through, but you can see these speckly clouds here are going to be impacting the southwest from later this afternoon into tonight. Already some showers sweeping up towards the Perth metro area. There might be a little bit of reprieve from the rainfall around 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. If you did want to go for a little walk, you might be able to catch a little bit of sunlight then, but then once this evening kicks in, we're going to be looking at probably another 15 mil coming through, but that will be later tonight by the looks of things. You can see the showers pretty relentless throughout the day, and then they pick up once again with showers and storms along the coastline up towards about Mandurah at around 6 or 7 p.m. tonight, and then the Perth metro area also expecting a couple of showers, but nothing too crazy up there. Like I said, another 15 millimeters does sound very reasonable indeed. Throughout the remainder of the day, the major cold front itself will be extending itself through the northern parts of the Murchison into the Gascoyne and even the southern reaches of the Pilbara as well. It does make it as far out as about Mount Augustus or East Lyons River, but it doesn't look like it gets itself out any further than that. It certainly does impact Gascoyne Junction, but it looks like once it gets to about Mount Augustus, which is here, it does stop, which is good news because, I mean, the grey nomads up there, they're done with the school holidays and they're looking for some fine weather. So if you do get yourself into the Pilbara or sort of towards the east of Great Northern Highway, you should be good in terms of rainfall. It does still look like Meekatharra will get a couple of mil throughout the course of today and into tonight, but by the time the sun rises tomorrow morning, the majority of the rainfall, maybe a little bit of drizzle is remaining, but it should be all clearing out. By the time the sun rises as well for the Perth metro area tomorrow, it looks like the rainfall is going to be cleared out as well, just lingering around the south coast between Albany and Esperance. Nothing too crazy, just a couple of mil expected on Friday, but I do think the rainfall will stop by Friday morning. It's going to be replaced by a very nice high pressure ridge, which is going to be bringing some cool conditions to the northern parts of the wheat belt and the Gascoyne. It's also going to be funneling in a bunch of rainfall powered by low pressure systems in the Tasman, or not the Tasman Sea, rather the Southern Ocean, which are going to be funneled in between this high pressure ridge, and that's going to be bringing a little bit of rainfall as well this weekend for the Perth area and the south coast. A couple of mil expected on both Saturday and Sunday. Not very pleasant weather at all, considering it's just going to be slow moving, showery crap, especially for the the ocean, suburbs, you know what I'm talking about. It's awful sort of rainfall. And then by Monday, the return to the heavy rainfall looks like it will be upon us. Another cold front coming through Monday night into early Tuesday morning. This one looks like it could have some storms and some damaging winds. Nothing in terms of rainfall compared to what we did have last night. I know it doesn't seem like we've had much rainfall because we all slept through it, and you might have been tricked by the rainfall stopping temporarily for about 2 hours at around 10 or 11 p.m. However, it certainly was a lot of rainfall overnight. The rainfall continues on Tuesday as well, showers continuing through Tuesday and Wednesday before a high pressure ridge builds itself up again over in the western extremities of the Indian Ocean, or the eastern extremities rather of the Indian Ocean. That looks like it's going to be bringing some cold temperatures through Wednesday, Thursday and Friday mornings next week. You can see this high pressure ridge powering temperatures down towards 3 or 4 degrees around the Great Southern sort of region. In fact, 2 to 3 degrees for some locations, so very cold indeed, and it looks like that's going to continue through the weekend as well before another cold front sweeps up from the south and impacts areas, but that's still about 10 days away, so we won't be talking too much about that. Cold conditions, but still a little bit of rainfall expected next weekend. All around looking like a pretty wet week. I think the Bureau of Meteorology has highlighted at least a 50% chance for rainfall on all days of their 7-day forecast, and that's totally valid as well. It looks like we're going to be getting that type of rainfall for the next week. In terms of rainfall accumulation, I just want to say that the majority of this rainfall has already fallen. Windy.com generally includes the rainfall over a 24-hour period, so that includes midnight to midnight, and considering it's about 7 a.m. when I'm recording this video right now, that this rainfall has already fallen is what I'm trying to say. So we can subtract about 50 millimeters outside of Jurien Bay, and for the Perth metro area we'd be subtracting about 20 millimeters, but that means over 10 days, those 10-day accumulations still looking very healthy, powered by rainfall this weekend and 2 more cold fronts next week, one of which could be very strong. Perth looking at a further 50 millimeters of rainfall for the next 10 days. More southern towns around Bunbury and Collie expecting a further 80, maybe 90 millimeters for some locations. Margaret River expecting a further 80 millimeters as well, and then south coastal regions expecting up to 100 millimeters over the next 10 days. So very healthy accumulations expected out there, and some good accumulations as well expected inland. It's not so much going to be the outer parts of the wheat belt around Merredin or Southern Cross that get the good rainfall from the next cold front that's going to be coming through, but considering it's going to be quite close to the coastline, we could be seeing 1 or 2 spots of very heavy rainfall around Katanning or Manjimup, that sort of area. So we will be holding out for hope for that. That is some fantastic news for farmers. Now, before I end this sequel off with Western Australia, I just want to talk about the drought monitoring map, and this is what we like to see. Very little drought conditions across the majority of Western Australia. Now, this isn't all sunshine and rainbows. Just because places aren't in drought doesn't mean that they've had below average rainfall, and considering there was above average rainfall expected across a lot of the southwest expected this winter season, that is a little bit of a kick in the guts for the farmers, but this is looking much healthier than it was just a couple of weeks ago, and the drought continues to be quenched over the coming couple of days. It still is going to linger for locations around Hyde and Lake Grace and Ravensthorpe, but it looks like by the time the rainfall next week does kick in, I think the windy.com forecast here is overestimating significantly on this drought forecast, but I do think by the time next week kicks in the rainfall will be back up to normal and stock standard for a lot of the southwest, which would be fantastic news. In terms of soil moisture anomalies, they are significantly above average for a lot of locations, especially today. You can see a lot of the southwest at or just above average, which is fantastic news to see, and there's only a couple of pockets that are still substantially below average and do need rectifying it from the rainfall. The entire northern wheat belt, though, anywhere north of Perth, absolutely no fret whatsoever with rainfall. They've had probably about 2 years worth of rainfall so far for some locations up there, so that is fantastic news for them. It'd be great if the rainfall could make it down a little bit further south, which it could do, and that does lead us on very nicely to the next part of our video. In terms of rainfall soil moisture anomalies across the majority of Australia, it is looking fairly stock standard. Just a couple of dry spots across Queensland and Victoria, but I'm sure they'll get rectified with the right cold fronts. So we're going to keep things in the theme of winter, and we're going to be talking about the cold fronts expected to impact South Australia, Victoria and Tasmania in the next part of this video. Pay attention because there is a little bit of rainfall expected for some locations. Not expecting significant flooding at all, but we still could be seeing some decent rainfall for 1 or 2 locations. So make sure you are listening out for your location. Now come tonight and tomorrow morning, we're going to be seeing the cold front that's impacted Western Australia sweep through the Great Australian Bight, making its crossing of South Australia. In fact, the showers do start between Ceduna, Streaky Bay and down towards Port Lincoln on the Eyre Peninsula by around Friday morning, and the showers continuing there all throughout Friday. By Friday morning and early Friday afternoon, we're also looking at the chance of some light showers across the southeastern parts of South Australia around Robe and Mount Gambier, extending into Victoria and on the west coast of Tasmania as well. Some wet snow also expected Friday afternoon and evening into Tasmania, and also into the ports of highlands of Victoria and New South Wales as well. We could be looking at a couple of centimetres of snow there Friday night. The rainfall also continuing for the South Australian coast. Adelaide expecting a couple of millimetres on Friday, in fact up to 15 millimetres expected there. Parts on the Eyre Peninsula as well expecting some good rainfall on Friday, 10 millimetres or so there. Robe expecting 15 millimetres, and then locations into Victoria as well. Surprisingly, looks like some light to moderate rainfall, some very consistent light to moderate rainfall that'll be lasting for a couple of hours, will extend into there, and communities around Ararat or Bendigo could be expecting up towards 20 millimetres on Friday evening into early Saturday morning. Now, those snows, or the snowfall is going to really pick up in Victoria on Friday night and into early Saturday morning. We're looking at a couple of centimetres every 3 hours falling there, so we could be looking at the accumulations by the sunrise on Saturday of up towards 15 or 20 centimetres, and some freezing conditions across the mountainous skiing communities in New South Wales and Victoria. So I would not be surprised if there were severe weather warnings issued for blizzard conditions. It certainly is going to be very cold, and certainly the chance of some significant snowfall there. Rainfall continuing through Victoria through Saturday, and also showers and storms there South Australian coastline. Tasmania really misses out on it though. It looks like the low pressure system skirts itself through the Bass Strait, and it looks like Tasmania really misses out on the majority of the rainfall, in fact giving the majority of it to Victoria and so forth, which is fantastic news for them, because it looks like this is going to be some very good drought-breaking rainfall for some locations of Victoria. Good rainfall still reported across all of the coastline extending between Adelaide and Melbourne, a widespread 25 to 50 millimetres there, around Mount Gambier and Robe about 50 millimetres over the next 5 days. Adelaide over the next 5 days expecting about 25 millimetres. The majority of it will be Friday and Saturday, but showers continuing through Sunday. The northern parts of Kangaroo Island on the exposed coast expecting 40 millimetres there, and the Eyre Peninsula is going to be a hit and miss up to 20 millimetres, but still Streaky Bay expecting a couple of drops of rainfall. Port Lincoln expecting about 15 millimetres, and Ceduna expecting a very hit and miss 5 millimetres as well. Accumulations through the snowy mountains as well are going to be very high, and that also is precipitated amongst new snow over the next 5 days, expecting up to half a metre of snow there, 40 to 50 centimetres of snow to accumulate on some of the tallest of tops around Thredbo and Perisher Valley. So make sure you do rug up, get ready for some skiing, because it looks like there's going to be a lot of fresh snow, very abundant up there, which is fantastic news for ski and snow lovers. But yeah, this looks like a pretty significant cold front. It's not really something that the weather agencies are talking about right now. I did skirt through the Bureau of Meteorology's video this morning, and they haven't been talking about it. So this is stock standard weather, but it still might be a bit more punchier than normal, sort of the only weather system that we might see 5 times a year or so. Rainfall continuing for Tasmania on Sunday and into Monday as well. Looks like they're just going to be stuck in a never-ending cesspool of rainfall. And then come mid next week, Wednesday and Thursday, looks like another cold front brushes through, but it doesn't look like a really significant one. The one on Friday, even though it's about a week away, still it does look like a pretty powerful one moving through Tasmania. That'll have some very strong winds in it, and also could be packing a punch in terms of snowfall. So rainfall accumulations over the next 10 days looking very healthy for the west coast of Tasmania. So that's where the highest of accumulations are expected, up to 150 millimetres outside of Strawn. Some good rainfall across the Eyre Peninsula as well. Port Lincoln expecting 25 millimetres, most of it which will fall later this week into this weekend. Adelaide about 50 millimetres of very good rainfall, and the southeastern corner of South Australia could be picking up close to 100 millimetres, so some very good rainfall expected there as well. The New South Wales agricultural districts could be picking up a few millimetres too, but it's most likely going to be reserved for the mountains. New South Wales coastline as well, not really picking up any rainfall. The majority of Victoria picking up at least 15 millimetres or so, the only exception being Mildura. And in terms of snowfall as well, very, very good accumulations expected. We're talking about up towards 70 centimetres for the next 10 days. So incredible accumulations expected, and it's going to be a great end to the month of July in terms of snowfall for the highlands of New South Wales and Victoria. And also can't be forgetting Tasmania as well. Some very good snowfalls expected there. So fantastic news for them. And it looks like a little bit more snow for the tops around Katoomba outside of Orange. I'm not sure how much I believe this forecast here, especially considering it is snowfall that has just happened. So that's very very interesting indeed, but I think we will just keep an eye on it because it looks like some snowfall expected in places that you wouldn't normally expect it, and certainly not places that would expect snow or snow days happening 3 or 4 times a year. So that's certainly some interesting stuff. We will be keeping an eye on it. Unfortunately, in the wake of this weather system as well, or in the wake of all of these weather systems, you're going to have to be dealing with strong high pressure systems. There's going to be one moving through Western Australia and South Australia this weekend. That's going to be bringing some freezing cold conditions there. But this high pressure ridge is going to be developing across South Australia, the Northern Territory, Queensland and New South Wales. And Sunday morning looking like it's going to be a very cold one across the highlands, below 0 degrees for a lot of locations. And in the pastoral districts of New South Wales and and Queensland rather, it looks like it's going to go very close to 0 on Sunday with a bit of a wind chill as well. So make sure you do rug up and prepare for a big frost morning. And that will continue through Monday into Queensland. Some cold conditions expected across the farming districts and the coalfields. Also some cold conditions across the northern parts of New South Wales around the Coffs Harbour, Tweed Head sort of area, and some cold starts expected right through New South Wales just in general. It will clear up a little bit on Tuesday. It moves further towards the Coffs Harbour sort of area, still very close to 0, but as these cold fronts do start to move through New South Wales and Victoria, conditions will milden up a lot on Wednesday and then into Thursday as well. And it looks like there might be a bit of a return to the cold on Friday in the wake of these cold fronts. This is Friday next week, but again, it is a little bit too early to say at this time. Now, just before I finish off this video, we're going to take one last look at the rainfall accumulation map over the next 10 days. There is a little bit of rainfall in Central Australia, powered by what could be a bit of a low pressure system, a honky-dory low pressure system, providing a few showers to Central Australia, but that will be sometime later next week, Thursday or Friday. This is interesting on the forecast here. I haven't seen this before. It's a brand new addition to the forecast, but it isn't really reciprocated amongst the forecast models. You can discount the Axis G3. It does some clown stuff on the forecast in the 10-day period. So again, we will just wait and see on that, but if that is a thing that sticks, then I will talk to it, but it's not worth discussing right now. Also, some rainfall expected up in the Daintree as well, 35 millimeters there, and outside of Innisfail on the Cassowary coast, another 35 or 40 millimeters there. It's going to be happening in the 5 to 10 day forecast period. In fact, there's no rainfall expected until by the middle parts of next week, when Tuesday and Wednesday the rainfall might be picking up in far north Queensland again, and a few showers expected on Wednesday and Thursday, which will amount to that 35 millimeters or so happening, and then a few more showers expected to end off the week and kick off the weekend. Again, it's stock standard weather up there. It's nothing crazy, but we could be seeing some heavy falls around 1 or 2 locations, and I wouldn't be surprised if Wednesday next week we woke up to accumulations approaching 50 millimeters outside of Innisfail, and a river or 2 approaching the minor or even the moderate flooding alerts there. So we will keep a very close eye on the weather forecast up there. It is imperative that we watch out for flooding at all times of the year, because it can happen at all times of the year up there. That's a long-winded forecast update. Once again, we've had a lot of them lately. If you did enjoy the video, then please do consider subscribing, and also leave a like while you're at it. Your support is greatly appreciated. You can see a lot of fog and low cloud actually over the New South Wales and Queensland farming districts, so let me know if you're being impacted by that as well. A very cold start across the central parts of Australia. In South Australia, I'm not even going to try and pronounce these communities' names. 0 degrees overnight, freezing. Alice Springs also got down below freezing. They're just starting to warm up now, but yeah, bitterly cold across a lot of the farming districts and the cattle ranching districts across Northern Territory and South Australia. So let me know a weather report for your location in the comment section down below. I look forward to getting back to all of them throughout the course of today. If I've left anything unanswered, please do let me know in the comment section as well. Your support in the channel has been greatly appreciated recently, especially to those the channel sponsors. Their names are on screen right now, and I could not be running the show without them. Thank you so much for watching the video to this point, and I'll catch you all in the next one. Goodbye.